Hi, Sarah. You're on mute.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm like hiding in my work kitchen.
Oh,
Here
looks
we are.
nice.
It's got a lot of weird music things in here, but that's in a minute. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we should move this meeting to like 3:30 so they have a little bit of chance after school, but
Yeah.
we'll, get organized.
So we're waiting for Jeremy and Dr. Powers?
And Troy,
Oh, okay.
here's someone, Dr. Powers. Well, we can start whenever we have quorum, but I really think we need to wait for Jeremy.
Yeah, I think so too. Hi, Dr. Powers.
Hi. Let me step up the hall, see what's up with Jeremy.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I've been over 2 weeks now. I started with the sinus infection, bronchitis, and now it's like pneumonia. So
No, I'm
my
sorry to hear that.
I'm used to it, but the pandemic makes it challenging because every time you're sick, it's like, oh, get a COVID test and
Yeah.
then see the doctor,
Yeah. Yeah, I had a pretty bad cold a couple weeks ago and I just got tested so I could come to work. I was like, I don't,
Yeah.
I just needed to know.
He'll be with us momentarily.
Okay.
Yeah, this should be fairly painless.
We do have one potential, and we'll get the details as the week goes on here. But it looks like we're zeroing in on our homecoming venue.
Oh.
And so there'll be something that needs to be approved. It'll be on next week's budget agenda.
Oh, that's good. People have been asking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, give me 1 second. Matt.
Yeah, we've been trying to come up with the right way to handle this within various CPS guidelines and everything else. So,
yeah, I'm sure it's very challenging, and you're kind of like the in-between. You want to please the children and the families, but you want to do it safely and follow guidelines.
Sure. Well, and also, we don't have an outside option. Some of the other schools,
Oh,
I talked to some kids last week and they were saying, well, you know, has theirs and Northside's got theirs. I said, yes, but they have fields immediately adjacent to school, and Lane's doing theirs on their parking lot, which is massive. We just don't have that. So it has to be either indoors here at the building, which would limit our numbers. And we typically have up to about 1,000 kids, or we find an offsite venue, and that's what we're working on now.
oh,
So we're going to reach out to SGA and give them the date that we have available, and you know, we'll take it from there.
yes.
Yeah, that's great because I know that Michelle Kerr had reached out to SGA.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, just let's wait for, well, you know, we can get started doing like the clerical stuff. So I'm going to call it the meeting to order at 3:20. I'm sorry if it's loud. Apologize. This is, oops, wrong. You're fine. Okay, 3:20. I'm going to take roll. Troy.
I'm here.
Okay, Raquel.
Here.
Myself. Is here. Powers. Here, and then we'll just wait for Mr. Voigt, TBD. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
So move, or second.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to take a roll call vote. Raquel,
Yes.
Troy,
Yay.
Dr. Powers,
Yes.
Ma, yay. Okay, and the agenda is approved. And then I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 7th meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, and then let me do a quick roll call. Raquel,
Yes.
Troy,
Here.
Troy, okay. You approve the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Powers?
Yep.
Ma, yay, and Jeremy, do you want to vote for the minutes or? you wanna-
Yay. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm late.
It's okay. I also thought like we need to move this meeting to 3:25 or something, so you guys get a little bit of time after school. We can do that too. Okay, so the agenda is in the chat. Do you guys see the chat even when you join later? Or no, do I have to put it in there again? Okay,
It doesn't look like I have it. Sorry.
I don't-
okay, that's okay. There,
There it is.
yeah. That's the agenda, so if you just want to refer to that. So the first item on the agenda was this, you know, an update on MFT funds. And I know that at the last LSC meeting, when that was presented, you had said there was like a flow chart or something you were going to share with us, and that it was difficult to, like, you can't necessarily print the narrative from the MFT application, but
Mhm.
potentially you could do screenshots or something.
I'm in the process of putting that together. And again, not all the budgeted money that's available to us is been allocated yet, because this is a, you know, a moving process, but we have a good portion of it. And the same is true with the OST. We have a good portion of that identified and earmarked, but again, it will roll through the school year, just exactly how that money is drawn upon.
Okay, so do you have an approximate amount that we could report that has been earmarked? I totally get that, like, it's better to plan and take your time kind of planning out that money, but if we knew like the OST stuff for the fall that was just sent out, is that a certain percent and then you're saving the rest for the spring session, or?
Correct. Yeah. In other words, what we've done now for OST is for the falls for the first semester, and then the second semester we'll have a whole different thing, or it could be exactly the same things. Some of them will continue on through the year. I don't have a figure for that off the top of my head, but we can get that and have it for next week. Also, I do have for the MFT. Right now, we're looking at that was a total of
49,000.
49,000, something like that. Right now, we're looking at $100,000 toward an SAT prep program with Princeton Review. I have a meeting with them tomorrow morning to finalize some of the details. And that would actually be operating starting in the second semester as kids prepare for the SAT. It also is going to be probably, it could end up being more than that because that's based on approximately 300 of our 500 juniors participating, because it's strictly voluntary whether they wish to sign up or not. And which programs, there are 3 different programs within that, 3 different options, I guess you might say, and which ones they choose to sign up for. So right now our estimated amount is $100,000. And then the kids themselves will, once we start off the enrollment process, that'll help us determine whether we go above that and have to have additional funds. But we've got plenty of wiggle room with regard to those MFT funds with regard to the SAT prep.
So is that something that the juniors have signed up for already, or that you're just
No.
historically it's been 300 out of 500?
No, they have not. It's 300 kids out of 500 is what we're planning on,
Okay.
knowing that not everybody will take us up on the opportunity, but we can go above 300. It's just that's kind of the baseline starting for the program. And no, they have not started signing up for anything because we don't have a contract with them yet.
And is that something that would be done after school?
It will be done after school and potentially on weekends as well, like Saturday mornings and Saturday morning and potentially afternoon. And it's all remote, but it's live.
Okay. Okay, so it's all remote. Interesting. Okay. Okay. And you have any is there like a ratio of teacher student, or is it more like a lecture and then they get one-on-one stuff, or do you not have that level of detail?
I don't have all of that yet. And
Okay.
it depends on, like I said, there are 3 different types of plans involved, or 3 different delivery systems. So they vary accordingly. But again, these are, for example, Kaplan has been doing a free one. Did it this weekend for kids taking the PSAT and MSQT next week. And that was live and students participated via chat and so forth. So I think we're dealing with something very similar, but again, I'm going to work out the rest of the details tomorrow when I meet with the person in charge there.
And are they the only ones that kind of offer that, like, or just like the Princeton Reviews, that's a CPS approved vendor? Or
They're an approved vendor. They also
Okay.
have a CPS rate, which is good. It's a little bit cheaper than the general rate because of volume, obviously. And there were two other firms that we looked into. One did not provide us with a proposal. One did, but we're going with Princeton Review because, number one, we have had a relationship with them in the past, and they are probably one of the biggest national organizations. They've got the I'd say the biggest access to resources, I guess you might say. One of the other ones we looked at was a smaller operation, a smaller firm, more locally based. And I just felt like Princeton Review can provide everything we need and do it. It's already set up. They have their models and everything else to work with. So we shouldn't have any difficulty with that.
And you would say, like, because all CPS kids have to take the SAT, that this is, because I know that some colleges are moving away from SAT, and I'm just curious, like, I guess everyone takes it. So, and there's some colleges that are still
It's a
accepting
state
it.
requirement. It's a state requirement
Okay.
for graduation.
Okay. Okay. And then is there anything else to report next week? So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but well, we can talk about that because part of the State of the School address is a budget update. So I was kind of going to ask the whole committee, like, what do you envision that looking like?
Well, I was not planning a budget update.
But we have to do it. Yeah, well, we have to do a budget update 2 times a year to the LSC and to the community. And oftentimes schools do that as part of the State of the School. If you want to do it in November, I think it's just important that we communicate that we think that the State of the School, we have enough to talk about, and that we would like to do the budget update separately.
I think we certainly have enough to talk about at the next meeting. So I would be more than in favor of moving the budget update to, and also that way we'll have a better idea of what is being asked for the budget update. In other words, what format that's going to be in and what kind of details are being required for that. That would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just,
Yeah.
requirement that you let the community know kind of, a budget update, like this is where we stand, this is how
Okay.
much, yeah. So I'm okay with, I think that there's plenty to talk about, that it'd be nice if the budget got a little bit more time. So if we move that to November, I will just make that part of our regular budget update. So we prefer to do the budget meeting or budget, I'm sorry, update in November. Okay. And then that also can give us time, like Jeremy and I could work together offline to try to, put together some type of summary that you could look at, Dr. Powers, and then,
That sounds good.
yeah, okay. So if you can send any of the information beforehand about MFT fund allocation, is that going to be part of your state of the school address, how that's being allocated, or no?
I think probably it will be in there, but again, the figures are still very tentative. In other words, it's not
They're rough.
it's
Yeah.
not like a summative report of any sort. So
Okay.
certainly I
Okay.
can include that in some of the other in the principal's report.
Yeah, and I think even just more importantly, even not even at the LSC meeting, but before that, just sharing the chart, that flow chart that was shared with the teachers, and then any narrative that you can that was submitted as part of that plan,
Mhm.
even if it's just screenshots. And maybe Troy could help with that. Okay, so where's my agenda? OST rental. Hi, Troy. Any news?
Well, I mean, we are moving over to a new platform. And so the new system that we're rolling over to starts October 15th. So I'm right now going through basically asking them to add things or, revise certain language that's within this platform. I have some things that they gave us for the LSC. I mean, it's just basically an overview. So I don't know if these are things that, to me, it doesn't give any, it might leave more questions than it answers. So, I mean, essentially all it does is talk about the benefits, how schools get paid, and what was the other one? But I can forward that to you to see if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I
to
mean, I
kinda
can always
get a
just
gauge.
share and say like, this was provided, but that you didn't, you don't have any more information than that,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I think it's from the CPS real estate department. It's more of a way to show like how it's done so that people know what to expect. But there's no other details as far as like, the back end, how does it get approved and like who's doing it. But there is from the central office, basically just reiterating that they strongly suggest doing where like we do a blanket overview, kind of like what we had talked about. And then a lot of the smaller rentals, especially for those, and then maybe for the larger ones, we can have the LSC look at those individually if they want. Those are fewer and farther between. And right now, the system only allows for 3 different types of areas to rent. So I'm not even sure if that's going to expand to other areas, which leads to more questions for me. So I don't really have much of an update other than we're starting this new system, ready or not, on October 14th or 15th.
Okay, But CPS hasn't said you can start doing indoor rentals.
Yes and no. So
Okay.
like, for example, this kind of goes back to what I said a while back, where like there are certain categories that they'll accept. For example, if a youth swim team wanted to use our pool, that they had an existing rental with us, then they could use that. But the groups that I usually work with either are not doing anything or they don't fit into that category. So kind of yes
Okay.
and no, but mostly no.
Okay. And then, are you suggesting that we wait? So later in the agenda, I had a bunch of, that I had presented at the LSC meeting last month, or I had asked people to go home and kind of do their homework and read through this stuff. Are you suggesting that we should wait to bring that language to the LSC until we see what this online procedure looks like? Or should we just kind of go ahead with and approve the language that we had discussed?
I would be more in favor to have an approval where I know that if we have individual contracts coming in, that I don't have to necessarily go to the LSC every time one of those comes in. I mean, I've been fortunate, like right now with everything shut down, I haven't had that many requests. And who knows if it actually will like bounce right back. But I mean, I've had a ton of people already ask me if they can use the space. But if I already had that in place, I think once we're ready to go, that would be more beneficial for me. And then I get the impression that it's called Facilitron.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like Transformers kind of thing. But that's something that we can kind of modify as we go from what it sounds like the trainers were talking about. But getting the basis, the fundamental structure of like how we do the approvals, I think would be in our benefit to get that done as soon as possible.
Okay, let's get through a few more agenda items, and if we have time, let's go back and I'll pull up the language that I did for like a motion that the LSC could approve. We could talk about that, but I see Jeremy just put in the October docs. So hi, happy Monday.
I only put in one check rec. I started building the folders. That's all I really did. I only have one check rec so far that's over 2,500. That is for a girls volleyball order.
Okay. Any news on that one order for some uniforms we approved for basketball and they would never get them?
I don't think he's gotten them yet, but
Okay.
he's not expecting them until November. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. Well, if they come in early, let us know.
He's not gotten it, no.
Okay. So this is just for volleyball. This comes out of the
It'll come out of their account. I don't have the check rec in there yet, but they do have enough in their account for it.
Okay. All
Is
right,
there, I think last month, there was an orchestra one and I put balance of the account on there for you guys so that she has enough in that activity account to pay her down payment for the spring break trip she's trying to do. That was a larger one, so I made sure that it was in there, but it's also in the chart of accounts
Yes,
that you get
in the
each
chart,
month.
yeah,
So if you
yeah.
ever need to look it up, but I just thought I'd make it easier by putting it on the check rec as well.
appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. And then I guess if you get more in, let us know, but it seems like things are kind of smoothing out.
They are, but I would also say a lot of staff start catching wind of the LSC meeting
Yeah.
next week, and then they start putting stuff in. So
Well,
there's a
that's
little
good.
bit of both.
It's working. Oops. Okay. Oh gosh. Facilitron. All right. Okay. Maybe Jeremy, you and I could talk offline to figure out what we want to present in November for a budget update. And at that time, I think we could talk about, I think I had on here like, I'm trying to look at my agenda to say that it would be nice to see Like, we had the approved fiscal year 22 budget, especially for
Mhm.
internal accounts, but like showing like what we've added, like we added parking, like maybe, and just kind of give like an update of like, this is where we're at today.
Okay.
I think that that's a fair amount, a fair thing. And then also for the community, just like the overall, like we're doing okay with the 115 money, like, like that's all allocated. So just kind of a real general overview, but I would like to each month kind of go back to the fiscal year 22 budget and just keep adding kind of what we're doing so that when in April, we've done all the work and it's already like, okay, this is kind of what this is how the budget has changed since it was originally approved.
Okay.
So I think you and I can meet.
Yeah, if you want to send me an invite, I'm probably more flexible than you. It's a little chaotic right now, but maybe later this week or next week or whatever works for you, we could start talking about it.
Yeah, and for me during the day is great. So as opposed to like right now.
Right.
And later. Okay. I'm just going back to the agenda. Back to school funds update. We got that. We're gonna change the state of the school budget address to November. I had on the website, is it possible to add a drop down, Troy, to get to the fees? Like really easily so people can see the fees?
A drop down or
Like it's just hard, it's really hard to find. Like it's almost like unless you go to the quick start. Like could it be under, I don't know, would it be under parents? I didn't know. That's why I kind of brought it up to this meeting. Is there a place on the website where you think there could be a drop down menu for fees?
well, I always like to look at what other schools are doing too, and I did not see anywhere where they had theirs, so I don't know. My initial thought would be just put it under parents.
What about general forms?
Well, there could be like Form Central that has,
Right, in Form
basically-
Central, there's general forms.
Yeah, and having multiple places, I mean, we could have it in multiple places too. But as far as having an actual drop down, are you thinking like a separate line?
No, maybe under parents. I don't want to have to drill down too far. To me, is fees part of forms? I mean, forms to me seems like absent form or a sports form or, like that's as a parent, that's what I see. Even like transcripts, I guess that's forms, like I don't.
What do you see when you log into parent portal under the fees? Like, is there?
Oh,
is there
I just
anything
see what
there?
I was charged.
Yeah, it won't give her a breakdown of what all our school fees are. That's in Aspen, so.
Right, and I guess I just think that you guys did so much work on translating like the FAQ doc and like putting together all the translations. It would be great if that was all just lived in one spot on the website.
I mean, I would agree with Troy because I've tried to find it with other schools and not many advertise it, but I
think
don't have a problem with it, and I don't think the LSC has a problem with it. What if we just made a tab under the parents section, Troy?
That's fine.
Is that kind of what you have in mind?
Yeah,
Sarah?
yes, yeah. Yeah, because when I was doing the research to put together like what other schools are charging for forms, I was able to get it, but that might not have been, I might have just been searching for like fees using a little search guide. But I think
Yeah.
like you've done all that hard work with the translation. It'd be nice if it was just so easy to get to. That's all.
And Dr. Powers, I assume you don't have a problem with it being there on the website?
No, that's fine.
I'll just make a note that we're tentatively gonna put it under.
Yeah, or
Parent
maybe if they
chat.
have suggestions about where they want it, I feel like
I want it. I don't think anyone else cares, but
things are only as good as the parent who's looking for it. So if a parent says, well, I didn't know what the fees are, chances are they didn't look that hard,
Also, is there an admissions? I had wrote in my notes admissions tab. Is there an admissions tab?
Yeah.
Admission.
There is.
Right next to
So-
about.
I mean, I
But
don't know if
nobody
that's
would be-
considered admissions. Yeah.
Well, nobody would be going to admissions unless they were seeking admission, whereas the
Right.
fees are for everybody every year. So
Right.
Right, okay.
So Sarah, just so you are aware, the way that our site was, when we rolled over from the old site, which had basically 8 tabs, it was not mobile friendly. Even our site now is, I mean, I'm giving a frame and I plug in the stuff that I can in certain areas. And you'll notice like when you go from your desktop to your mobile device, what disappears is the about, admissions, academics, and athletics and student life. And the only thing you can see is students, parents, alumni, and then basically that top dark bar. And so essentially what you're seeing is between the two different ones, there's, our site offers different things to different people. The top one is more focused internally. So, things that would be related to students, things that would be related to parents, they would go there. The about, admissions, academics is kind of a split between outward outreach and like basically promotion and some internal, but it's mostly external sites that come to visit those sections. And so that's how I divided it up. So, I mean.
No, that's
unless
fair.
there's
That's good. Also, if you shrink it really small in your browser,
right.
the other things disappear too, just the students' parents. I would say most people, well, I don't know. I think there's a lot of mobile use, a lot more mobile use than we think, but I'm old, so I like to use my browser.
We get about 100,000 impressions a month, which seems like a lot, but when you consider that basically every Chromebook that we have, every computer that we have defaults to our website, it's hard to gauge what that external is. Yeah, but going back to the original question, I mean, that's pretty easy to do, but the fees would just be like kind of lingering out there. The one thing I would have a little concern about is when parents, especially at certain times of the year, there are going to be things that parents are going to look at. They're mostly like the incoming freshman parents. They may look at this, and then if it changes by the time they actually start registering, they're going to be like, what the heck happened? Even though it says at the very top, this is the year that it has. So, I mean, if we do put something, I think we should probably be very
Clear on the year, school year
careful
20,
on our language.
21, 22, yeah.
Yeah.
If I can add just a little bit, so I just went through and waived for those who got the free and reduced. I didn't get an actual count, but at least 30 some probably paid, and they have received a waiver of some type. So I'm bringing it up because when you advertise the fees too much, one, people like they get jittery, they get anxious about it, and they all think they got to pay these fees, and they don't necessarily see all the other things that are involved in that. We might qualify for a waiver. We want you to do the FIIF first and all of that good stuff. And we sometimes get families paying or trying to pay before they've even been assessed. So like AP exams are a good example. They'll start sending me checks for AP exams, and we haven't even put that on the accounts yet. So I'm just throwing that piece out there too. The more we advertise it, the more we get errors.
Yeah, it's not so much. I think the only time it's advertised is during registration or quick start. I think this is just putting information so that people can find it.
Yeah.
And like, no matter, I mean, I read your statement, Jeremy, where you said, do not pay fees if you think you might qualify, but I guess I'm hoping those were people that were newly qualifying or freshman parents, and that won't happen again.
I mean, it's hard to say. I worked registered or quick start, and I would say some of them literally were saying, I can pay. It's fine. I don't need to do the waiver. And it's like, okay, well, you can wait and see what happens. No, it's fine. We'll just pay. And it's like, I don't know how to argue with that. Like,
well, tell them that if they get the waiver, we get more money.
Yeah, no, and they're still filling out the waiver because it's
Dr.
embedded
Powers?
in the quick starts. But
Wait, Dr. Paz, you're on mute.
You mean as far as how much we
You
get?
get
from the
80, 10,
state?
you get, I mean, sorry, if someone qualifies with a waiver, you get more federal money.
It's based on last year's count.
Oh, I see.
So it
Well, that
doesn't, it
will,
doesn't affect the current budget. No.
right, but it would affect next year's budget.
Right. Yes. that's
Right,
correct.
right. So I'm saying you, anyway.
But right, nothing's
Raquel, oh, yeah, sorry, Raquel.
nothing's
owes-
We'd rather it
changing
be
with-
just accurate
Right,
as opposed to, one way or the other.
right.
But the FIIF numbers and stats are not changed if they pay their fees and qualify
okay.
for the waiver. Those numbers are still the same.
That's right.
That's good. Raquel has her hand raised. Raquel?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I kind of agree with school that, it shouldn't be online. It's more for current parents. So maybe it could be added to the newsletter, a basic breakdown. We were already given that at registration, the form that has the breakdown of all the fees that could potentially be paid. So, maybe that could be in the newsletter, and then under that, could just be, if you have any further questions, contact, and then whoever the appropriate person is for that. I just feel like it can cause more questions and things like that if it's put online, and it's really not for future.
It is though, it is. It has so much great information about if you can't pay your fee, how you're not excluded from doing activities. It's in the 3 languages. There's a bunch of FAQs on there. It even talks about what the IAF form is, and we've done a ton of work to get that done. I think it should just be on the website as an informational. I feel very strongly about that. That's all I'm saying. I get what you're saying. I just think that information is better. The more you can let people have access to that, regardless of if you do or you don't, you're still going to get this situation where some people say they want to pay their fee, and that they still qualify for the free FIIF. I just think it's really if under the equity lens, like, I think it's just really important to stress that you're not going to be excluded from doing events. It also has Jeremy's contact information. So if you do need to reach out because you're having problems paying fees, that's on there. So we're not asking people to dig for information. But to your point, Raquel, it is also important to do both. Reach out via newsletter and repeat that information. I don't think you can repeat information enough because people don't read everything.
Yeah, I just don't think we have an issue with people applying to Jones.
And
Maybe
this is not about applying. This is about just communicating what the fees are.
I'm fine with putting the website. I mean, I can see both points. I think it's just the language that we use to put up that, it's for current parents right now. If you haven't even, applied, don't look at this. Essentially.
Okay. Okay. In the chat, I put a doc. This document has, if you scroll to the very bottom, the top is just background information. And the second page links to the flow chart that Troy put together that talks about rentals. And then at the bottom, it says possible motion. And so this is, if we have like at least 5 or 10 minutes to just chat about this, I think this is our last agenda item. I just threw this together as a draft. I'm not married to it. I'm open to suggestions. And the categories were taken based off of how CPS has categorized stuff, and links to that are in our agenda, our budget agenda that has all the background information. And even some of this language is taken straight from their documents. So we're trying to make it easier, right? So we're trying to make it so that Troy doesn't have to come to the LSC every time he wants to get a contract approved. And so the first part of the motion is, and this is Dr. Power's language that he offered, was that we delegate approval of the following types of leases to the principal and the applicable CPS signatories, right? Because there's a whole form, short-term rentals, filming, cell phone towers. And then as long as they met the requirements listed. And then I pulled out that the council retains the right to approve contracts that are 11 or more days, so long-term rentals. Again, I'm just not married to this, but just wanted to get something out there for conversation.
So Sarah, and forgive me because I don't do LSC meetings like you guys. The first section or first page really is all of the rules, basically board rules. You've just put it there as a reference for them, correct?
Correct.
And then the second page and third page are more so what you or what we think could be a flow chart or an organization plan for Joan specifically.
Yeah, the second page, the flow chart was created by Troy, and then the narrative where it says for-profit agreement, small independent, that's kind of how he thinks of them when I asked him to put together what he does for rentals. And then my motion, however, categorize it as the same way CPS does, as short-term rentals, filming, and cell phone towers. And then they do a fourth category, which is long-term rentals. So even though Troy had nonprofit and for-profit agreements, that's not how CPS, I mean, it recognizes that they are different, but it doesn't categorize them differently as far as approvals.
So you're
I think.
saying in the motion, those three options, filming, short-term rentals, cell phone towers, you're fine with Troy and or Dr. Powers making the decisions without presenting that to the LSC. But if it's a monthly basis,
So if it's 11 or more days,
got it. Then it
that's
should
their
go to the
language.
LSC.
yeah. And they even recommend that LSCs do this so that it's not, hard for the rental manager.
If, I don't know if it's a suggestion or just conversation, what about if there's an emergency situation, like Troy has a group that, let's say a church says we got to get a place like this week or next week at the latest, and we're just not interested in you guys anymore if it's going to be a month before we can find out.
Right. I think that you could structure that as a short term to get them in there for like less than 10 days. I mean,
And
if you
then
think
present it
about
to the LSC for longer term.
right, because 10 days is, I mean, that could be 2 months for church.
Yeah, and I get that, except Troy has certain parameters he has to deal with too with CPS. So if CPS, I don't know. What do you think, Troy?
I'm fine with it. I mean, this new Facilitron though thing is, I just don't know how that's going to impact things because I can see basically it's going to run the same with some little things here and there that might be different. But I think the overall language seems fine to me. And I think I'm going to be able to do a lot more better reporting, more accurate, because the reports that this thing's going to be able to generate on some things. So I'm fine with this. I think this is that was my biggest concern, is that the short-term rentals were going to disappear because I just know that no one wants to wait. They if I get back to them, if it takes me a couple days to look into some things and then get back to these people, and then it's another month before they get a decision, it's not going to happen. They're going to go somewhere else. Especially with this new system too, because they can easily see the comparison between different schools. And if you're not available, they can easily go to a different one.
Okay, I mean, again, like, this was presented to the LSC last month. I think this next week is gonna be really busy, so I don't even know if we'll get to this, but like Troy said, better to be ready so that, we're ready to go. And, Facilitron, well, I think we'll make sure all the i's and t's are crossed, so I'm not so worried about that. So I will push that for everyone to review this language and then like, just approve it based on our recommendation as a budget committee. Okay, I think that's it, all I had for the agenda. And I will reach out to you, Jeremy, to set something up. And
Great.
I will alert the LSC that your stated school address, Dr. Pars, will not include budget.
Right.
Okay, all right, anything else?
Did you want me to send you those info sheets?
Yes, please. And Raquel, I hope you feel better.
Thank you very much.
And I'll have the rental information with regard to the venue for a homecoming. Hopefully
Awesome.
within the next few days, or certainly by the end of the week.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, great. They'll be excited. I mean, the kids.
I hope they are.
They are. Okay, spend all that $19,000. All right. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.